Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be taking a break from the normal ranking videos, and I wanted to talk about a topic that I've really been thinking about for a long time, honestly for years at this point, that I've really never actually talked about because it's a little bit of a slippery slope because I don't want to offend certain fandoms when talking about stuff just because I'm going to be. I want to talk about some things with the industry today and how music has changed completely and how the charts really don't reflect popularity anymore and how stan culture has kind of ruined the impact of music on modern society. I know, hot take, don't scream at me please. What I'm gonna say is from my perspective, what I see. It might not be technically right or correct, but it's just how I view the industry as an outsider. But before we jump into the video, I want to quick talk about a company called Into the AM. You may have remembered I've talked about them before. They recently just sent me a bunch of tees from their basic tee line. They're super simple and really go with anything. I actually just wore this one on Instagram. So also plug for my Instagram. But they're so incredibly soft and they're pretty affordable too. They fit pretty great on bod, if I do say so myself. And they come in different fabrics, so you can choose however soft you want your shirt to be. Like, I can't tell you enough that these are like some of the comfiest t-shirts that I've ever worn. And I have a code that gives you 10% off your entire purchase, which will be linked right down in the description box below. So with all that said, let's jump right into the video. I guess to start the discussion that I want to have, I feel like the best place to start is to talk about stan culture, kind of how toxic it is. Stan culture, for those who don't know, technically stan means stalker fan, but it's not really to that extent anymore. It's basically just an artist's fandom. Basically, the point of a stan is not only to just follow and keep up with their favorite artist, which was probably the original point of fandoms, I assume. But now it's to the point where this is my favorite artist. Any other artist that does better than me, I'm going to try as hard to tear them down. Any artist that doesn't do as well as my favorite artist is a flop, trash, awful person, untalented, will never make it in the industry. And this is verbatim from replies that I've seen on Twitter. Stan Twitter is a bloodbath. Like, it's awful. Stan Twitter has pushed artists to the point of literally getting off Twitter, getting off social media. It's led to some artists having some really tough mental health problems with some of the things that you deal with Stan Twitter. If you do not know, there's an account on Twitter called Pop Crave, where basically they just tweet about new releases, artists' accomplishments, records, charts, etc. Basically anything pop culture. And if you want to see what Stan Twitter is, go through the replies under any of their tweets. Any of their tweets. It's so bad. When I think of Stan Twitter, I think of three main things. Fan cams, which don't get me started with that. That's just a whole nother thing. But the main other two things are obsession and bullying. Because in reality, I'm not going to say all Stan Twitter accounts are like this because they're not. But a majority of them are super obsessive and honestly super hateful and are basically cyberbullying these artists. It's almost unnerving to think about how much these people care about other people's success, if that makes sense. Like, I know that like a lot of these accounts are probably teenagers, kids, but I run into some accounts that are very much adults, like 20s, like should be worrying about other things, and yet they're just tweeting about how Lady Gaga's a flop or how Selena Gomez is the most untalented person on earth. They've gotten toxic to the point where they will bring up the Manchester bombing and talk about how Ariana was the reason with that, or talk about Selena's is it lupus, I believe. They'll bring up really insulting things about that, or even bring up like Demi Lovato's relapse. They'll bring it up and say so many hurtful things and hide behind their artist avatar and just pretend like what they're saying isn't incredibly hurtful. And it's honestly scary that it's so normalized, and the fact that these accounts just spend their whole day going through tweets and replying just so they can maybe put their fan cam in while also just shaming another artist, or putting their fan cam in so that they can say like, oh, stream my album, or like stream her album, or stream this, or don't listen to that because that's a flop. You know, if it hits number one but it falls 2 places the next week, it's a flop. If it doesn't debut in the top 10, flop, canceled. Like, it's so insanely toxic and honestly awful. I had a Stan account for a few months back a few years ago, and there's a reason why I got off so quickly, because it's just so incredibly toxic. Like, I feel like there's probably a silent minority of Stan accounts that just want to love their artists, make like listen to their music and just love any other artist. Like, it's insane how many of these accounts are so hateful when that was never the point of these accounts, and how they are obsessed with number ones. And that kind of leads into my next topic about number ones and how they really don't have any weight anymore. Anyone can get a number one, even if their song doesn't have a big impact. Number ones today boil down to how much an artist fandom can finesse the system. And I might make fandoms mad, but it's kind of true. Like, let's look at the list of Billboard Hot 100 number ones from this year. There have been 15. There have been 15 number ones. Think about that for a second. Without looking at the list, how many of these number ones can you actually remember? Probably not many, because a lot of these songs dropped off an incredible amount after they hit number one, because the only reason they hit number one is because their fans used VPNs, streamed their song over and over on repeat. They would buy bundles or do literally whatever they could to get their favorite artist's song to number one. It's no longer what's popular. It's now which fandom is powerful enough to go out of their way to make their artist look the best. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it could be. Thinking about it, if we keep going down this path, what's going to happen to the validity of the music industry if so many of these songs that are the number one song in the country honestly aren't, but they just technically are by sales because some fandom was able to stream the song enough, or buy multiple copies, or buy 4 deluxe versions of the same song just so it can go number one. This is where I call out our songs, and this is where I'm scared of offending some fandoms. Now, I'm just gonna say it straight up. If we're looking at this list of number ones, I would honestly say Tootsie Slide, Stuck With You, Rain on Me, Trolls, Cardigan, and maybe even Watermelon Sugar. Watermelon Sugar, I don't... Actually, never mind, not Watermelon Sugar. But all those songs I listed weren't honestly that impactful. I love Rain on Me. I love a lot of these songs. But if we're being honest, they kind of fell off a little bit after they hit number one. And if we look at Say So, the main reason that hit number one... Well, Say So was already big. I assume that Say So would have hit number one eventually. But looking at the week it hit number one, the only reason it hit number one was because, well, Doja's saying she would show her tits, but that's another thing. But because Barb's wanted Nicki Minaj to have a number one. That's the main reason why it got where it did. If we look at Stuck With You, the only reason that hit number one was because Scooter Braun and their promotion team pushed it so much. There was multiple bundles, signed copies. The song was discounted. There were so many things that they did to kind of almost manipulate the charts and get to number one, even though the song was supposed to be a charity song. It's just kind of sad to see how the position of number one doesn't really have as much weight anymore. Trolls, again, the only reason Trolls went number one is because Barb's wanted Nicki Minaj to have a number one. Again, even Rain on Me, even though I love the song, the only reason it's kind of number one is because of Arianators, because they're really strong and powerful, which, again, not saying that that's a bad thing. Compared to the general public, it's just interesting to see. Again, my opinion on these songs isn't affecting what I'm saying. This is what I would say whether I love the song or hate the song. It all means the same thing. Cardigan is interesting because the main reason Cardigan was number one is because Swifties bought the song. Taylor Swift's fans are known for actually buying the albums and buying the songs. Like, they actually go to iTunes and buy it. They go buy the physical copies. Like, good on them for actually going to support it than just streaming it on Spotify. While Cardigan did do well on Spotify, I believe, I don't know if it did amazing on Apple Music, but it's kind of crazy to see, like, to think that Cardigan itself is not really of a mainstream song. And the music video did well, but again, it didn't perform amazingly. Cardigan mainly hit number one because of fans. And not saying that this is a bad thing, but their fans buy the song. So it's just interesting to see that a lot of number ones are just based on fans' interactions and how their fan base can support the song. Again, I'm not trying to discredit any of these artists and say they don't deserve them, because obviously they do, and I'm happy that they got these number ones. But comparing the charts now to 5 years ago, it's very different. There's so many number ones because of fandoms and honestly stans. And I also want to briefly talk about how the artists kind of go along with it. Like, if we look at Yummy, that week of Yummy coming out was embarrassing. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to attack Justin Bieber with this, but the amount he tried to get that song to be number one, literally telling fans to use a VPN to stream the song, releasing like so many different CDs of the song, like doing whatever he could in his power, telling his fans so much how he would only release a new song if he got a number one, or he would do like an Instagram live with fans and ask them to buy the song on live, or he would get off live with them. Like, it's so sad to look back at, and it just kind of shows that these artists are feeding in to the new industry, which I guess I can't hate because it gets them money, it gets them power, I guess, in the industry still, because that's what it is now. And even looking at songs like Tootsie Slide, which, to be honest, was almost, it was literally just a TikTok cash grab for like a TikTok dance challenge that didn't even end up really paying off that much. Like, I don't think a single person, unless they're a Drake stan, would say Tootsie Slide is anywhere near the best of any of these songs that hit number one. And it was super generic, and yet it got number one because Drake sent it to TikTokers to make a dance out of it, so then it could then get traction. And it's just so interesting to see that getting number one is a game almost. It doesn't have the same validity anymore. It doesn't have that weight that a number one used to have. And it even goes for like breaking records. Records to me mean more of like a statistic or a number, where number ones, even though they are number ones, in my head they're supposed to mean more popularity, if that makes sense. It's so crazy to see the power of these fans and stans, and my main example would be Dynamite by BTS, the new song that was released that got over 100 million views in the first day. Before I say this, I'm not trying to anger the army. I think BTS is super talented. A lot of their music slaps. They have great music videos. Like, I think they're super talented. This is not me attacking them. Like, the number 100 million in one day is almost unbelievable. Like, it doesn't seem possible. And it's mainly just because the army is so strong. Like the BTS army is literally so incredibly powerful. And when you look at the army compared to many other fandoms, BTS doesn't have nearly as many followers as so many other artists. I think I checked on Instagram, BTS maybe it was in like the 20s or maybe 30 millions, which again is a lot, but compared to so many other artists, it's not that much. And it's crazy that, I guess, in comparison to the rest of the world, the army is a small group of people that's just so powerful to the fact that they can get these artists to hit these records, which, again, not trying to discredit BTS. I think, again, they are amazing. But it was interesting after the music video hit this record because I went on Twitter and saw that there was a trend about it. Something about it hitting 100 million was trending. And I go to it, and so many of the tweets are saying, like, great job, guys. Like, I can't believe we were able to do this. Like, thank you, everyone, for watching the video over and over again, or doing what, like, basically, a lot of the tweets are talking about how the army was able to get this record, which congrats to them. But it's so crazy that so many of these records now that are broken because of fandoms and stans, which it all does kind of boil down to the fandoms now. The music industry is controlled by fans at this point. It's not controlled by the general public, which it used to be. Maybe a few songs, general public, like The Box, Blinding Lights, Rockstar, Circles, WAP, like those songs were huge. They had huge impact. But like the rest of these songs, a lot of them got where they got because of their fans being just powerful and strong. The point of this video isn't for me to prove something. It's just to have a discussion about it, because I feel like no one really talks about this. I haven't seen anyone online really go in depth about this topic and how the charts have gradually just become a ranking of whose fans are the most powerful. It's just interesting. It really is. It's honestly almost funny to look at how weightless these number ones feel versus how much weight these fans put on these number ones. Basically, if you stan an artist on Twitter that doesn't have a number one, they're a flop. That's not my rules, that's the stan Twitter rules. I wonder where we're going to go in the next few years with the charts, if it's going to continue like this. Because honestly, music this year has been so all over the place, which I've been saying so many times, because it's number one after number one after number one after number one, that all these number ones then end up falling out of the top 10 very relatively quickly. I know Rain on Me, again, which I love, fell out of the top 10 in a matter of like 2 weeks. Trolls dropped 30 some places from number one. I'm just rambling at this point. But yeah, I guess I didn't know where I was really going with this video, but I just wanted to talk about this because I feel like no one does. I guess let me ask you all, is everything that I'm saying crazy? Like, am I just in my head? Like, does none of this make sense? Or is this something you've also noticed? Am I kind of correct about this, or do you see it in a completely different light? I'd love to hear what you all think. Let me know in the comments what your perception of the music industry is today. Just want to repeat it, I'm not trying to attack any of these artists. I love most of them. I just want to make a discussion, you know? let's talk about this, since I feel like no one does. But yeah, if you liked this video and you liked me rambling, let me know if you want me to do more. I'll probably go back to doing another ranking video unless there's a certain topic you'd like me to talk about. Instagram, Twitter, y'all know what to do with that. I guess that's it. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.